It's time to talk a little AI. We got Rehman Khan. He's Assistant Vice President, Cyber Risk Control at Travelers. Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming by.
You bet. Thank you very much for having us. It's a great opportunity to be here and to speak to your listeners. So excited to be here.
Of course. And look, I know that you're incredibly qualified to talk about this topic, but for people who have not met you before, well, what do you do over at Travelers?
A little bit on the personal end, I have been in information security for the last 17 years. I have spent some time with Department of Defense, supporting our fighter jet platforms in terms of security architecture, how they communicate with allies, air to ground, information security channels. And as of late, last, I want to say about good 8 years have been focused on commercial applications of information security. I have been with some financial institutions in the past, currently with Travelers, and my day to day is typically it revolves around connecting with our insureds, our applicants that are looking to take out a policy on what their security controls look like, what the gaps may be, what the opportunities are, and how we perceive risk. So basically trying to quantify risk to a very high extent to be able to pinpoint exactly where we want to be in terms of our pricing. Do we even like the risk? Is that something we want to underwrite or pass? So taking a look at the cybersecurity programs of the organizations that they're trying to take out an insurance policy with Travelers.
Great. So now when most people hear AI, they're like, great, I'm going to give it a prompt to make a funny picture or something, or I'm going to have it summarized. When you hear about AI, you're in cyber risk and you have to say, uh-oh, what could the threat possibly be to supply chains?
So the threats, it's really interesting how every few years we have a term that is tokenized. Previously it was blockchain. Nowadays it's AI. Prior to that it was cloud. So the trend, goes on and on. When I look at AI, it's simply a matter of how efficiently an organization perform a task. Now the issue with AI is that it is available, it's cheap, it's free in most instances, and the free versions right now are very capable of providing to you the information you're looking for, whether you're trying to figure out what your medical condition may be, or you're trying to figure out how best to write a cyber security vulnerability exploit, right? How to exploit a vulnerability in, for instance, Windows, right? And AI is capable of pulling information from multiple sources. It's capable of putting it together in a ingestible format, and you can actually tell it to write certain scripts. You can tell it to divulge information. You can also get it to crunch a lot of data for you, and that's what most of us are using it for nowadays, right? You take a paragraph, you put it in, and tell it to summarize it for you and give you an opinion. It will do that. Within the trucking industry, what we're seeing is attackers or the thieves are focused on figuring out exactly how best to get into the systems and start stealing information. Now, trucking industry revolves around a lot of documentation, right? You have your freightway, airway bills for the freight. You have your release documentation. You have all of these different trucking organizations, truckers, pulling into a hub to pick up freight. From an attacker's perspective, what if I were an attacker, and what we are seeing as a ground reality is that they're not only using AI to exploit your computer systems, your system of records, but they're also looking to pull templates on what a airway bill might look like. Instead of guessing and pulling Google images to figure out, what a bill of material might look like, now they're getting actual information from whomever has posted some examples of their airway bills online. They're looking at what are the patterns of trucks moving in and out of an organization. What are the best times to pull in? What are the best times to pull out? They're doing a lot of data mining on vulnerabilities that are very cyber and technology focused. And they're also looking at your processes and procedures and figuring out how best to exploit it. For instance, if I walk into a facility to pick up a load, the organization might take a look at my driver's license. They might look for some insurance and other forms of documentation that's required to pick up a freight load. Um, as an attacker, I can pull this information, I can forge it very, very easily, and then be able to go back out there, pull that information um, at the counter, pick up a load, and just disappear. So, a couple different vectors in terms of how the trucking industry may be attacked right now. So.
So yeah, and it's AI. It's just a tool, so we use for good or for bad. I mean, staying on the bad side. So you mentioned that these things could be. What do we got to look out for? What do we got to look out for on the bad side of AI in how this is going to factor into trucking?
See, we tend to, as humans, we tend to fear what we don't fully understand, and that's just a ground reality. Um, what we see as a pattern, and what we would suggest people look out for is the degree of automation and the implementation of artificial intelligence within their systems. Organizations will naturally bring in AI and artificial intelligence tooling to automate their processes, to automate a lot of the systems, streamline their procedures internally, streamline their security. Now, every single one of these things, because they're tied to a technology pattern, naturally attackers are able to bypass a lot of this using AI on their end. For instance, if I'm using AI to start populating tons of information based on past orders or past deliveries or past system of records, attackers also have access to a lot of that information online. Attackers will be able to pull a lot of information on how trucking industry is using AI, what are some actual implementation of AI technology, and they will be able to come up with ways to bypass. So what we say is be responsible in assessing your use cases and be very, very mindful of the human element that can make mistake. At the core of all technology, whether it's successful or failing, is a human being, and all we need is one human element to fail at their job and let the intruders or the attackers in. Previously, as all of us listening today would occasionally check our emails, and there would be the Nigerian prince attack, right?
Sure.
You are now entitled to $17 billion. All I need is your bank account information, and I'll send you the check, right? Um, Within corporate America, within the corporate space, within the industry, you have your email addresses out there. Someone needs to just figure out exactly who to pinpoint an attack, send that email, get a foothold of your network by exploiting a weak link. And from that point on, they're on the network, observing and absorbing everything that is going on, including how your AI systems are working, right? So we have to be very mindful of the fact that AI is successful till it's successful, but when it fails, you will fall back to your traditional attack vectors. So a very
Interesting.
detailed security risk assessment is definitely required, and every use case should be vetted.
Yeah, and I get texts from Craig Fuller all the time telling me to get him some Apple gift cards. I seemingly he changes his phone number all the time. I haven't got him yet. I won't name names on who here has, but let's just say it has happened
True.
before. So okay, so thieves can use AI. Great, let's get rid of it, right? Or is there anything good? Can we do bots versus bots? Is there a good side to the trucking industry for the AI?
There are some great use cases, right? So attackers will always be there, regardless of how bulletproof your system is. Within information security, before I respond to the question, there's a saying: it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Today, those of us that are deeply involved in cybersecurity, we hear a name of an organization in the news that has been exploited, and we don't really think twice about it or pay too much attention to it. And the reason is not that we're negligent; it's simply a matter of, oh, okay, you too. Think about AT&T. What is it? 110 million? 110 million records. Your text messages, private conversations, everything has been leaked, right? Most of us, folks out there, our social security numbers are on the black market. So we are already under attack all the time. Now, in terms of the tools and what we can um, use AI to successfully implement and ease some of the pains of being in the business and operating. Some of the examples are simply real-time threat detection, right? You have your security cameras, physical security, you have your entry points, you have your customer database. You can basically bring all these elements, all these data points into a central repo, or in simpler terms, a system of record. And from there, AI can basically massage the data and say, okay, on these days, this is what your flow pattern is. Um, on certain days, you have less trucks versus on other days, your traffic pattern shows X, Y, and Z. Um, Most of these trucks are traveling from the Midwest to the West Coast or down south, up north, what have you, to the East Coast, right? This is how best to optimize your path and your loads. This is how you should be distributing it. There is, with artificial intelligence, it's not just a matter of, with AI, the core is not necessarily just the information it is sitting on. It is capable of massaging a lot of data, tons of data, and giving you a picture that you're looking for. So you can also bring in your smart sensors, your IoT devices, to figure out what's the best way to optimize the security of a building or a facility, right? What are the best security controls we should be implementing? Where should the cameras be? What is the flow in egress and ingress to your facility, to your parking lots, et cetera, right? What are the human elements? Let's take a look at, when we hire someone, what are the data elements that we're picking up? And are we just running a background check on work history? Are we looking at your social security number, your criminal
Yeah.
history? If we are, let's tie that together into our driver check-in system. So we know when a IDs is scanned, a driver shows up with fake credentials, we should be able to quickly scan it, and AI will be able to tell you that, hey, the face and the ID does not match, or it's a
Yeah.
close match, but it's not a 100% match. You need to look at something else. So there are quite a few different use cases that can be implemented successfully to further better the operations.
Just got to be aware on both sides. It's a double. It could be a
Absolutely.
double-edged sword, especially in this crazy world of
It
freight.
is.
Always get your insurance. Always be safe out there. Go check out travelers.com. And sir, thank you so much for your time today on this important topic that we're all just trying to start to understand.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming by.